I just want them to go back to work. And I think the senators on the right, well, I know the senators on the right want them to go back to work. No real reason for the shutdown to happen. It's kind of interesting. I start almost every show by saying this. It's the most important story happening in the United States of America today, but it's one of the most boring stories as well. This guy's not boring at all. It's Senator James Lankford. He is, of course, of the great state of Oklahoma. Senator, good to see you again. How are you?
I'm doing very well. You want to sing the song Oklahoma while we're on?
If we can, we have time at the end. Why not? He, of course, is the vice president of the Republican conference. What the heck's really going on, James? I don't understand it because I know Chuck Schumer's getting a real challenge from AOC next year in New York. Maybe that's his problem, but adding a bunch of health care and a bunch of foreign money that we took out in the one big beautiful bill doesn't seem to make sense in a continuing resolution situation. What's really going on?
Yeah, what's really going on is this is all about Chuck Schumer and in a primary challenge that he'll have coming up a year and a half from now because he's up in 3 years now for election. So he's trying to be able to fight that off while he's watching a socialist win the mayor's race in New York City. He's keenly aware that they're lining up to be able to take him out as well. And it's also about a whole nother group of Democrats in the Senate that are going to speak at the No Kings rally this weekend, that they want to show they're the strongest. They're running for president. They're the anti-Trump. So this is all about political drama. Who's caught up in this are all the federal workers, all the federal families that are affected by that, people that are trying to call the government and get a question answered from the IRS. Those are the people that are affected by it, while Democrats are right now trying to play politics and show their resistance power.
What is this No Kings thing? It appears to me that they go out there, they pretend that Trump is a fascist or an authoritarian. They pay a bunch of people to go and protest, to be on camera. So the people who are there don't really know why they're there, but they're getting paid, many of them. Those who are actually holding these No Kings rallies are pretending there's a king, and Trump is lowering regulations, lowering taxation, giving more freedom. That's the antithesis of what a king would do. What do they hope to gain by that? Because it didn't help last time.
They're hoping to be able to stir up support for the midterm elections. This is a gathering of far left progressive groups that want open borders. They are supportive of the Palestinians. They're anti-Israel. A lot of anti-Semitic folks that are mixed into the crowd. And they're for folks that want a lot more government spending. They don't want a balanced budget on it. These are literally exactly the opposite from what the American people voted on last year. They want low crime. They want closed borders. They want peace in the Middle East. They want a thriving economy. That's what the American people want. The No Kings rally wants exactly the opposite. So it's America. You can get out and speak for how you want. Senate Democrats can stand there and rah-rah with them, but the American people are not behind them.
I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Senator James Lankford, by the way, great state of Oklahoma. When we see them do things like this just really does put into stone that they have no clue what the American people want. These are 75-25 issues. These are 80-20 issues. The American people wanted peace in the Middle East. They got it. They wanted lower taxation. They got it. They wanted you guys to strip out some spending in government. They got it. They don't want men and women in sports. They got it. What exactly is it the Democrats think that they have going for themselves? Are they completely clueless, or is there something going on here that I don't see?
No, they're trying to rouse up the 20% to make themselves look larger on this. I mean, it's just where they are on it. These are 80-20 issues. They're on the 20 side of it, and they're trying to build support back the other direction on it. Again, it's America. You're free to be able to have that opinion, but it's also America. We vote and we take action based on those votes as well. And what they're pushing right now is this whole package is a climate change bill. It's a bunch of healthcare things that are left over from COVID that they want to pretend that COVID is still active. They've got all kinds of stuff crammed into this bill that we've said absolutely not. And a lot of people don't know the bill that they're proposing to reopen the government reopens the government for a few weeks. And then they want to do this all over again. In fact, some of the Senate Democrats have said, yes, we will shut it down again at the end of this 4-week extension that they want. So they're trying to make this just a rotating, shut the government down over and over and over again. Rightfully so. We've said no one in their right mind would take that deal. Let's just keep the government open. Let's keep debating and negotiating. But we are not going to just give them all these demands that are out there because it's exactly contrary to what the American people wanted.
It's Senator James Lankford, jameslankford.com. Go there and support what he's doing. I had John Kennedy on yesterday, your friend and colleague, and he said if Chuck Schumer said to all the other Democrats in the Senate, sign up for the Taliban, they would ask him where to go to sign up. Why do they have this undying support for Chuck Schumer, who 6 months ago agreed to the same spending that we're looking at now for the CR? What leverage does he have on them? I know that there are more moderate senators from the Democrat side that just aren't voting the right way yet. What does he have on them? Do you know?
Yeah, I can't tell what he has on him. I would tell you, talking to some other Democrat senators just in the hallways and on the floor back and forth, they're saying, hey, they're getting fed up with this as well. There's some real frustration because people are calling their offices as well saying, hey, I'm not getting paid. Why are you doing this? They're trying to say this is all about health care. People aren't buying it. People see what all is in their demands, all these climate change pieces and everything else that's stuck in there. People see it and know it for what it really is. But there are some more moderate Democrats that are now trying to be able to push back. But I would tell you, they're terrified of all these far left progressive groups showing up in their front yard and yelling and screaming at them. They'll bring pots and pans and they'll bang on them at dawn or pre-dawn at their house. I mean, they're living literally under the intimidation of these far left progressive groups.
So it's not Chuck Schumer as much with the leverage. It's the fear that they'll look bad and their families will be awakened early in the morning. By the way, that's all illegal. That's not peaceably protesting. They can just be arrested. I mean, is there a deal to be made by people like you and Kennedy and others to sit down with these Democrats and say, vote this way, we've got your back, or that fear that you just talked about is overwhelming for them?
Yeah, there's a deal to be made. We don't mind, actually, and we've said it from the beginning, having a vote on their proposal. If they want to have a vote on their proposal, bring it up, let's have a vote on it. But they don't want a vote, they want an outcome. The minority party that's trying to define to the majority, here's what Americans want. And we were saying, no, that's absolutely not what it is. So we're not going to support what you're supporting because, number one, we think it's wrong for the American people, wrong for the America's future. But we also have a clear responsibility to be able to speak out on what we believe is the right path and what President Trump is laying out there and what the American people said that they were looking for. So they're wanting an outcome. We're offering them a vote on it. So let's have an up or down vote, see where you really are on it. They're saying, no way, we want to get everything or we'll do nothing.
You know, Hakeem Jeffries, the the House Minority Leader, he came out and said that we've got to do the ACA now because Republicans don't care about Americans' health care. You and I both know that doesn't expire. Those subsidies don't expire until December 31st. So getting this continuing resolution would allow Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer and others to argue with people like you about what do we do about it. Why is he doing it now? Again, what does he gain by making that an issue that Americans can just look up and see it's not an issue for 2 months?
So let me tell you the actual secret of kind of behind the scenes on this. Democrats realized a couple of months ago, they put in place when Joe Biden was president, they had Democrats in the House, Senate, White House. They did a reconciliation bill, which they can do purely partisan. We've done that as well when we had Republican control of everybody. They put in a piece that gave special plus-ups to insurance companies, not to individuals, to insurance companies, to be able to help out a group dealing with healthcare premiums. They voted on this. They set that to expire at the end of this year. So this doesn't take out Obamacare. This takes out the additional plus-ups on it. What they're terrified of, November the 1st, those folks that got all those plus-ups during COVID, they go away. They're about to get a letter in the mail that says, here's your new premium on it, and it doesn't include all the COVID area plus-ups they put on it. So that's what they're panicked about. That's what's coming November the 1st. They're also going to try to hang this around Republicans next and say, look, Republicans want the cost of health care to go up. The Affordable Care Act is not affordable.
Right.
They've been covering it up with more subsidies year after year after year, trying to find some ways to add more and more billions of dollars in subsidies, the Affordable Care Act, because it's not affordable. And even people that are not on the marketplace, our insurance rates are going up for all the employers, for everything else on it, because they built a system that spirals cost up rather than down.
It's Senator James Lankford. That's information that I didn't realize. So the Democrats actually put this in, and they put a sunset on it. Their sunset is about to happen, and they're blaming you for its sunsetting. Do I have it right?
That's correct. That is exactly correct. And they're panicked about that now because they know rates are going to go up, and their game is up. The Affordable Care Act is not affordable unless you dump billions and billions of dollars more into it every year.
Shouldn't that pandemic money have gone away anyway? I mean, Joe Biden announced the end of the pandemic like 4 years ago. It should have been, okay, we gave you the extra money. Now that it's over, let's take the extra money away. And we're still fighting about not taking it away?
Yeah, the funniest part about this, literally in their bill that they put in 2021 for these extra additional premium things, they put in the words temporary, medical emergency, COVID related. Those are all in their original piece that they put in to be able to expire. And now they're trying to say, just kidding. we know COVID's gone, but we still need more and more money for the Affordable Care Act, or it's not going to be affordable anymore. We would be glad to be able to have a debate about health care. President Trump's been very clear. We're glad to talk about health care. If you want to fix the Affordable Care Act, we want to be able to do that as well, because it is driving up costs for everyone. If you want to have that debate, let's have it, but not during a government shutdown, not while we're not paying civilian workers and other folks all around the country. That's a terrible time to be able to have that debate.
You know, John McCain is the reason why Obamacare still exists. I guess he was mad at President Trump. 2 o'clock in the morning, you give the thumbs down. What if that would have passed? I don't want to go and you know, harken back to the past too long. But what if that would have passed? What is the plan in place? Do you just get rid of Obamacare and the 1/6 of the economy that Obama took over goes back to the private sector? Is there a plan Republicans have ready to go? Should Obamacare go away? It's got to go away or get really reformed big time, because as you said, it's not affordable. What would happen if you did vote to get rid of it?
Yeah, the hard part about it now is not Obamacare anymore. It's just healthcare now, because Obamacare, a couple of things they did. They closed down all the private independent physicians. All of them were forced to be able to move in under a hospital. If we go back 20 years ago, most physicians had their own self-employment. They ran their own offices, extremely efficient, but that was hard for government to oversee. So Obamacare forced them all to be under a hospital. You can't undo that bell. Once that bell is rung, it's very difficult to now get them back out independent. It also closed down a bunch of independent labs and such, because they wanted to push them all to the hospitals. The bill was created to really favor the biggest hospitals.
Right.
And to make sure everybody all went into that structure, because it was easier for government to oversee. So now it's not just as easy as just undoing Obamacare. Now you got to be able to create the free market system again that's desperately needed. That's health savings accounts, that's open competition, that's availability for states to be able to create their own regulatory scheme. All those things are possible, but it's not simple to just undo anymore.
So what's likely to happen with these subsidies? I would like for them to go away unless you really, really need them. This is a pattern that you and I think, have talked about before. Young men who are healthy and able to go and work shouldn't be getting Medicaid either. So how do we get people off of these things that don't need them and only help out those who do?
Yeah, there's 3 very big things on these subsidies. Number one, no Republican has ever voted for these subsidies that were created above and beyond Obamacare on it. Remember, this is not original Obamacare subsidies. These are additional subsidies on top of the Obamacare subsidies. So that's number one. They also have a tremendous amount of fraud. There's 0 premium for 150% in down of poverty. So people are being signed up by insurance companies because they get a $1,000 check every time they sign somebody up. So they're signing people up that literally don't pay a premium and probably don't even know they have the insurance, because a very high percentage of that insurance has never even been used.
Wow.
So we think there's a lot of fraud there. They also gave the subsidies to people that were 600-700% of the poverty rating. You're talking people that make $150,000 a year are getting these additional on top of it subsidies. And the last piece of this is they created these additional subsidies in a sneaky way that would allow the payments to go to abortion care and abortion insurance, knowing that under what's called the Hyde protections, federal tax dollars can't go to pay for abortion. So Democrats created this special little way to make sure they can go around that, paying insurance companies directly so they could cover abortion coverage. Republicans are going to have none of that. Federal tax dollars should not be used for elective abortions, period. And so all those things that got to get negotiated, if we're going to even discuss anything, we're certainly not going to do that during a shutdown. I don't think the subsidies should be there at all.
Right.
But even if they were there, the Republicans that are even discussing that are all saying, hey, you got to have Hyde protections. You can't have fraud. And you certainly don't need to have people 600-700% of poverty that are actually getting this, making $150,000 a year.
You know, anything that was added for COVID should go away. I don't know if I mentioned this, but COVID's over. It is Senator James Lankford, great state of Oklahoma. Let's talk about illegals getting health care or getting medical care from the federal government. It is not happening in a direct route, but it's certainly happening. It's taking from Peter to pay Paul. In some of these blue states, I'm just going to lay it out and tell me if I get it wrong. In some of these blue states, what they're doing is they're taxing the healthcare providers, and then they're using that tax money to give healthcare to illegal aliens. Then they're taking money from the federal government, from you and me, from our tax dollars, and they're refunding the taxes that they put on the healthcare providers. So they're saying we're not directly paying for illegal alien healthcare when they know the taxation that they're doing, then the refund scheme is actually paying for healthcare for illegals. Did I get it right?
You got it spot on right, Joe. That's exactly the game.
But people don't understand that, Senator. They really think that when Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer say not one illegal alien is getting health care from a dime of federal money, they believe them.
Yep, they do believe them, and they'll come back and say, "Well, we didn't use traditional Medicaid dollars, so it's not Medicaid." I'll go, "Well, you use the whole scheme around it to get additional dollars from the federal government to then pay for that." They're trying to do the same thing in this shutdown time period. They're saying, "Well, we're not giving money to illegals; we're just giving it to non-citizens for additional health care requirements on it." So they're playing this game that Americans can see through. Part of this shutdown fight is literally because they want additional federal tax dollars to be able to pay for people to get health care that are not citizens of the United States. American citizens are saying we're $2 trillion in overspending this year. We do want to be able to take care of American citizens, but why are we paying for health care for Venezuelans that are in the country?
I have no idea, and if you try to call them out on that, then they say, yeah, but they've got TPS, so they're not really illegal aliens. They're here in a temporary allowed status. Was TPS ever really legal? It appears to me that the Biden or the Auto Pen administration was allowing people to come in illegally, calling it a civil infraction when it's really criminal, and then allowing them to stay if they're from Haiti, they can stay. If they're from Venezuela, they can. If they're from Cuba, they can, but then they can't. And in 2 weeks, then maybe they should. Was this just some strange game that they were playing to try to divert our attention from seeing what was really going on?
It was just one of many things. They were doing parole was the biggest thing the Biden administration was doing, saying if you cross over the border, we'll give you parole, which parole was never designed in law to be able to do. How the Biden administration, literally no president had ever used it, same way they did. Then they were doing the same thing, saying, well, there's turmoil in Venezuela, so every Venezuelan that's in the country, we're going to give them temporary protected status, which is basically overlooking how many people illegally came into the country.
Yes.
So they tried to create a legal way to be able to maintain folks that are here. All that President Trump has turned around and said, no, we're not honoring all that. We're not honoring the parole. We're not honoring the temporary protected status. These folks crossed the border illegally. They need to leave.
How does this shutdown end? Is Chuck Schumer going to give in? Is it really all about the No Kings rally, and then afterwards, maybe next week, they'll sit down and say, okay, we should do a 4-week or 6-week CR and let's go argue about stuff? How does this end?
Yeah, that's my hope on it. I don't think Chuck Schumer ever votes for it. He can't. He's so terrified of his far left progressive group in New York. So I think Chuck Schumer votes against it. But I think there are 10 or 11 Democrat senators that come on board and say enough is enough. Let's get the government back open. Let's keep negotiating. If they want to have their vote on their bill that they want to be able to bring up, that is fine with us. We've said that all along. We're the United States Senate. That's what you do. You vote. You step up, you agree or disagree on something, settle it with a vote and move on. If they want to have a vote on it, we'll absolutely honor that vote. But they're going to continue to demand, no, all Republicans have to agree with us or we're going to keep the government shut down. We're just not going to do that. And the American people would be furious if we did, because they lost the election. We won the election. The American people want to see this get better.
I don't think we have time for it, but Oklahoma, where the wind comes.
Wind comes sweeping down the plain. Come on. Yeah.
We just don't have time, or else we do the whole chorus. Senator, I love having you on. Thanks for the hard work. Hopefully you're right that this is going to end sooner than later. This whole game is not working on the American people. And if they want their political futures to be protected, these Democrats, I think, have to make a change. Thanks for coming on today. I appreciate you taking the time.
You bet. Glad to do it, Joe.
All right. We're back after this. Stay right here.